Construction projects ongoing around the Disneyland Resort. Walls have moved again at the Haunted Mansion, giving us a new outlook on when we could expect the attraction to reopen. Maybe the coolest thing we've seen so far at Tianas, and lots more, but let's start at DCA to check in on that mystery crane and the missing Incredicoaster loop track. And that crane is ominous on the horizon here in Cars Land. This is where I saw it first last week. Thought that's not supposed to be there. Saw it again here on the path along Radiator Springs Racers. And then once more hovering over the tracks at Incredicoaster. And we eventually learned that it was being used to remove the tracks, most notably the tracks at the loop. They're gone in this picture. But that didn't last long. The tracks have already been restored at the loop, as we can see here very clearly. And as such, we were on the lookout for any other situations where the track might have been taken out or replaced, including at the launch of Incredicoaster where we see the empty queue. But those tracks here appear to be just as they were, just as we left them. We did find something at the launch, though. We got a bit of a tent set up here. So they're working on that part of it at least, but we won't be able to see that. We got some scaffolding sprinkled in around other parts of the track, but again, not on the actual proper track, but underneath it. This track looks to be about the same. No changes there. Incredicoaster is closed right now for this repair, but we are expecting it to wrap up soon. It should be reopened for guests on April 19th, Friday. While we're here, let's stop over at Ariel's Undersea Adventure to see what's new there. I mean, we're not going to see anything from the ground, of course, because the walls cover everything up. We mentioned last week that there was talk of trees being the issue. We have since been informed via comments that those trees are supposed to look like that. That's how they look at this time of year, and that they will reblossom once more. So it is still very likely that the walls that are up are for the purposes of creating a new lightning lane queue. As a matter of fact, I have some time. Let's jump on the Pixar Palaron, see if we can't get a view. So I'm not seeing that the rails are still just as we left them. I don't see the ground dug up at all. Actually, I take that back. We can't see the ground from here. That's the concrete. Yeah, we can't see the dirt. We can't see the ground. So they could very well have dug up that spot to the left. Why they would need to dig it up, I don't know. The concrete, that is. I would imagine they could do this without disturbing the flooring there. To be honest, I don't know what they have to do to create a lightning lane queue here. I don't know what's necessary or not. I can just say it looks like nothing's happening at all. But as I mentioned, we can't see the ground floor, what would be to the right of that little concrete wall. D23 is coming up, which means people are going to speculate about the future, the possible announcement of the e-ticket that's supposed to happen here backstage at Avengers Campus. So I occasionally like to come up here just to get a sort of a baseline to see if anything's being done. But all I can see so far is just that tent that looks like a staging tent. What's that for, I wonder? I mean, the presence of any kind of staging area like that is interesting, but that doesn't necessarily have to be for the beginnings of a construction project. In fact, that's probably not. What is that? I don't recognize that piece. Not from the Pixar Play Parade, because that's coming up. I can't place it. Let me know, Fresh Baked. Let me know in the comments if you know what that thing is. But otherwise, nothing to note here in terms of there being any preparation for a Avengers e-ticket. Hyperion Theater, looking for clues for the future of this. We still have the same marquee, and the stanchions and chains are still up where you would set up for a queue. I mean, that's interesting that they're still here. There is no purpose, as far as I know, to keep them up for now. Redwood Creek Challenge is still closed, obviously. Still lots of steel up scaffolding around the play area, although it's impossible to tell what it is they're doing. Still no confirmed date from Disney. Refurb calendar showing it's closed until at least May 25th. That's as far out as we can see on the calendar. On the way out, this random thing showed up here on the trail in Grizzly Peak. No idea what that is. Let's go to Disneyland. Check out Main Street where Pixar Fest is showing its colors. That's a lot of color for Main Street, if you ask me. A lot of, well, it really stands out. Usually the colors on Main Street are very muted and, you know, sort of blend in. They're not as saturated as Pixar Fest is. I'm looking forward to Pixar Fest, but I would kind of rather not they do this, to be honest. You know, put the medallions and the banners up here, the bunting. We had a good run. We had a good run. It's season now. That's going to be going on for a while. We're going to be seeing a lot of this through the rest of the year, I'm sure. They're here at Buena Vista Street in DCA, obviously, as well, and in downtown Disney. Let's check in on City Hall, where it looks like they're starting to finish the job a little bit. We see a lot of guys doing touch-up paint. The City Hall sign. That's in the middle of a paint job right now, currently in a state of all blue. And then they'll probably put some gold leaf over those letters, I'm sure. And here we can see they're kind of finishing up here. He's pulling the tape off of those, the coverings on the windows. So I would expect if we were to come back later on this afternoon, we would see that that tarp could be gone. That's still up, all covered up in tarp as well. But again, I feel like we're pretty close to getting everything removed here. We don't get a date for these because the building, the structure is not actually closed. So they don't announce anything on the refurb calendar. That guy's actually painting the veneer, the brick veneer. You can see, there you go. I love the detail, man. I love that they just go in there and do things so detailed like that. Not sure what he's doing. That's the little balcony area at Walt's apartment where you get your cookie if you take the tour. Fire department looks great. Can't wait for that to open up. Walt's lamp is on in the window in the apartment. Looking forward to seeing City Hall scrim and scaffold free in the coming days or weeks. I really miss not having that view there, because when I walk down Main Street and I open up a show or something like that, it's always in my presence, in my field of view, it seems like. We'll start our morning off at the Adventureland Treehouse. A quick note, the wheel is still spinning, but the buckets are not. Those have not been working for a very long while. I was advised, I'm not sure if I read this in a comment or something, but the buckets are electric. They're operated by a motor, but the wheel is actually water or powered by water. So that's why one's working and the other isn't. We're going to not go up those steps, but take the correct route. I like to do a little PSA every now and then on that. Don't go up those steps. That's the exit. And that is Tianas Bayou Adventure, where we'll find some mysterious material show up on the mountain, new swampy features, and perhaps my favorite development so far in this project. But here first is our current view from the top of the treehouse on this overcast morning. No updates for you here from this side of the mountain. Nothing observable, no progress as far as I can tell. Same on the lower portion, and the same thing in that rear section behind the mountain. So we'll head down to the ground, check in on those trees that we saw planted last week. Very exciting moment. And this is great. This is one of the coolest things that I have seen so far at Tianas Bayou Adventure. I love this because it demonstrates the craftsmanship that goes into making these mountains, these attractions. A lot of the stuff gets taken for granted, and they feel like Disney's always looking for ways to take the short route. But they're literally, this is what we've been talking about, branch by branch, leaf by leaf, they're putting that tree together. And in a way that, they know what they're doing. They know what looks good and what doesn't. We would never know. But look at this. This leaf goes here. That leaf goes there. Twist, prune. It almost looks like he's pruning the tree, doesn't it? So that's great. There's another tree behind it. Looks like they've taken down a plastic wrap there, so that's bunched up in the corner there. I don't even know how many trees there are right now. I'm thinking at least 5. That was the latest development. Those aren't really full-size trees, but smaller trees that seem to be growing, on the side of the mountain hill, salt mine. So grateful for those folks, and I can't wait to check in on this again next week to see what's happening. For now, we're going to go see if we can't find anything at the lift hill. They have a light on, or I should say at the drop. They have a light on in there, which means that they're definitely up to something. But so this is the best visibility we've had at the top of the drop. But we're still not able to find anything show related. Just the construction worker, that light, and some gray rock and scaffold. On second thought, what is this? That curved piece of copper-looking steel. I feel like that's something that they're installing. That's not scaffold. Perhaps they're going to, attach something to it, show related. They're going to attach something to that steel, and it's going to be decorative, I would bet. Lift Hill Barn. The sheathing is complete on the roof. Sheathing also on the barn itself. I turned around real quick and noticed, because I heard some whooping and hollering down there. That guy right there, he was dismantling scaffolding. All of this wall back here had been under scaffold. And remember, they put a bunch of holes up in there. It looks like they've closed a lot of that area up. All that gray rock there, that's new. That's new surface that they've applied there. They're going to close that up soon. Plus that back there. If we go back, we can see that they've installed something. I'm not sure. Those will probably get placed back into those cutouts. Lighting effects is my guess for after the drop, getting ready to go through, you know, the final scene, the finale in the bayou, which is where I'm told the new song that they wrote for the attraction, it's going to be in that scene, the finale scene. This is going to be an original song written for this attraction. Go around the corner on the Briar Patch side. Things look about as we left them last week. Look at all that color there, though. New greenery, new foliage showing up here. And here we go. This is new. Last week we thought it was a tree, but it's something else. I mean, it is swampy stuff, but look, that one, that branch right there is curving, just like we've seen in the concept art. It's not down there in the front, but it's up here on the side. Although it could wind up there. This could be just staging. But that's the real swampy stuff that we're looking forward to seeing. From the Mark Twain. And there's one of those trees, the lift, or the drop hill, I should say. This is going to be something. Guys, this mountain hill salt mine is going to have so much more character detail than the previous mountain is. I feel like that's evident. Before we had it was just like grass and rock. I think we're going to get quite a bit more here. And I hope people are patient with that and watch this thing develop. I mean, those trees by themselves are going to add a lot more color and personality to this attraction exterior. And then we see them drop in, you know, characters like the frogs, perhaps. We've seen an armadillo show up at the outside of the attraction at Magic Kingdom. Watch this thing happen. What is that? Looks like maybe pieces of timber wrapped up in yellow bags, I think. Over here on the side, we've been watching this area for quite a while. I feel like those pipes, we noted those pipes a little while ago, or that steel poking up out of the ground. I'm wondering if maybe that's where they're going to attach something like those branches, those swampy branches. Okay, here's that timber again, I think. Or maybe that's not timber. What is that? Oh, no, that's not timber at all. That almost looks like paper. It's wrapped. It's something that's been wrapped. Yeah, it is. That's not timber. It's something has been wrapped. So there's show pieces inside that paper getting ready to be installed. That's even better than timber. Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Is that the edge sticking out? Is that, I think that might be. It's a swampy branch of some kind, I think. Maybe that's just what we were talking about just now for the side of that hill. But they're about to install. That looks like that's what they have wrapped up. There's the entrance, still waiting for that thing to turn yellow. Kind of hoping it doesn't. I wouldn't mind if it didn't. Status quo on the backside of the mountain here, and on Tiana's tunnel, and at the entrance bar with its sheathing. Status quo all around back there. Next stop is Galaxy's Edge, where, as usual, nothing is happening except for Kylo and some stormtroopers interrogating these guests. Don't think they realized they were facing a Jedi. Oh, Kylo and those stormtroopers. We'll go to Fantasyland, where I can report that train you're seeing right there, that Casey Jr. train, is still the only train running. They're running just one train. We're short a train at Casey Jr., which makes your standby wait time twice as long. When that happens, we'll keep an eye on that, but we've been checking on this every week for a while. Otherwise, everything at Fantasyland is just hunky-dory. Dumbo is flying. Pinocchio, ready to go. Walk on here. Snow White's Enchanted Wish, open and working. As is Peter Pan's flight, all systems go. King Arthur's Carousel. I heard a rumor that they might be bringing this little show element back. There's Merida, Geppetto, Merida again. This guy's still working hard. And Mad Tea Party, spinning as always. Everything's going great. Matterhorn was up and running on this morning. Storybook Land, Monstro, devouring guests by the dozens every 5 minutes. It's a small world. Guys, you would believe how slow this attraction is at 9 a.m. in the morning. Look at that. There's 3 guests in that boat. And where they remind you that a smile means friendship to everyone. I just love this. I love this. God, I love Fantasyland. And this. I love Fantasyland. where I'm very thrilled to see again the Astro Orbiter welcoming guests into this beloved land. And we'll hop on the monorail to get the latest on downtown Disney, like an actual answer as to what's going to happen to Tortilla Joes. We know now. A timeline for the opening of Din Tai Fung, news from Star Wars Trading Post, and of course, this view from Parkside Market. Gravel down on the surface there where the forms are, trees, concrete and gravel back there. This is about the area where we're going to see a trash compactor, but otherwise pretty standard stuff. And then we'll see new steel revealed here at Parkside Market. Oh, look at that. Down there on the ground, you can see the beginnings of definition for rooms and sections of the structure where that steel is down there. They're getting ready to define the spaces. So that's going to start, those walls are going to start going vertical here soon. That is a flight of stairs. Cool, we got stairs. We'll check in on that again in a minute. We got news here at Star Wars Trading Post. This has been behind Scrim for a long time. It's been open. This retail location has been open this entire time, but now it's like it usually does. They've got all that merchandise out there in the front of the building again, as it used to be. The main entrance is open and full access to the shop interiors where they've got all that Star Wars merchandise. But what is still behind Scrim is an area where they're still finishing the concrete. They'll wrap this up, apply the new patterns that they've been doing throughout downtown Disney, and then they're going to move their way towards security, towards bag check. Din Tai Fung, Disney has confirmed, should be opening by summer this year. We'll keep our eyes open for that. Parkside Market, not going to make it for summer, no. More like, I'm guessing, if the pace is similar to the Din Tai Fung pace, although it's a much bigger structure, late fall is my guess. Tortilla Joes, we reported that it's closed, which it is, and that we still don't know what they're doing. Although when we were here on this day, we saw those are cast. So there's training happening here at Tortilla Joes, getting ready for something new and exciting. So that's probably where they're holding their training or recruiting for the cast. Although I know that a lot of the cast from Tortilla Joes has been transplanted to Paseo and Centrico. Yeah, there's the recruiting table. They've all got their laptops out there getting ready for the new cast. We do, though, have an update on what that new experience is going to be at Tortilla Joes. Actually, it's going to be two things by the sounds of it. A steakhouse restaurant and an adjacent barbecue eatery. Those are in the works. This is per Disney, in the works for the downtown Disney district. These will be located on the footprint of the former Tortilla Joes. That word footprint suggests to me that they are going to demo that building and build something new. Two new dining locations where there was once just the one. Look for demo at Tortilla Joes. This is interesting. The taqueria. Looks like it's still open. Does that not seem open to you? The menu's still out there. They brought that out. The gate's open and the door is open. Can we still get that kind of delicious combo plate, the taco combo plate? I don't know. Meanwhile, Earl sandwich, I mean, that's got to be closing soon, right? If they've got the portable building up for the new Earls over there by Din Tai Fung, so I thought I would take my last shot at getting something to eat here. I got the ham and Swiss breakfast sandwich, toasted, ham, Swiss. Cheers, fresh bake. It's pretty good. A couple of weeks away from Paseo and Centrico, as we mentioned last week. Everything, I don't see much activity in these sites today. They are just about ready, including Tiandita. Out of nowhere, this place went from nothing to, look, they've got the leafy adornments there on the ceiling. Well, I guess there's a guy on a ladder back there, so they're still working on that. But they have really ramped up the pace. Ready to go here in a couple weeks. All three locations I expect to be opening at the same time. Tiandita, Paseo, and Centrico. Look, tables and chairs up there on Paseo. I mean, tables and chairs, that's a good sign. We'll go back into Disneyland, check in on the Rivers of America, where we saw that we thought they were building a cofferdam. I haven't seen anything happening there in the past couple of weeks. Still just full of water. They haven't lowered the water there at any point. So waiting to find out. Fantasmic. People ask me for news on Fantasmic. It's scheduled for May 24th. That is still the case. As a matter of fact, it is now showing up on the entertainment calendar. Look at that right there. Fantasmic, May 24th. 2 shows, 9 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. I have forgotten completely about the lack of Murphy. I'm just excited to see that happening on the Rivers of America again. I wanted to go check in on the Disneyland Railroad back there in New Orleans Square, and I saw this sign on the way. The bathrooms back here are closed. Just a bit of an FYI. If you come back here looking for the New Orleans Square restroom, they are not open. You will also find that the scrim is back up again. That's an indication that they're getting ready to do something here with that building, perhaps. The scrim has been down for months. It's been just scaffolded for a very long time. Scrim is up again, which makes me, I'm hoping that means they're going to finish repairing that structure. But let's hope that they do something with that. On our way out of New Orleans Square, heading back over to the Mark Twain, here's that new Lewis. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. They've installed this brass sculpture of Lewis out here in front of Tianas Palace. I love it. I think he looks great. It's a very nice touch. And I'm hoping that they find maybe an opportunity to do a little more. With that, we will go to the Mark Twain. There she is, pulling up to dock here. And with that, we'll make our final tour at New Orleans Square. We can see perhaps our first sign of positive construction. They're building up in the Haunted Mansion queue, and where the walls have moved again, leading me to possibly change my outlook for the return of the original Haunted Mansion. And we're going to board and take a look. Mount Gracie, I feel like it's grown, actually, since our last update. I feel like that mountain is bigger than it was before. There's the exit and the ADA access to the entrance of the Haunted Mansion. I miss her so much. I miss the Haunted Mansion. All that devastation down there. Got an earth mover and a couple of construction workers actively working on that site, though we can't really see anything that's happening here at the moment. Nothing but dirt and maybe still a trench back there. That's the rear queue. Oh, you can see they've built a fence back there. Okay, so that's curious. Difficult to guess if that's a temporary structure or a permanent one. I'm going to lean towards permanent. But that's about where that planter was, that final planter, before you reach the end of the exterior queue, and you're near to the mansion proper. That last stretch is right here in the middle of the frame. So they're closing that off a little bit. That's interesting. They don't really show that part of the queue space, but they only show you what's in the courtyard. In the concept art, they give you just a corner view of what's happening in the rear queue. But it looks like they may be developing or maybe building some kind of definition on that far side. Looking again, there's the crypt exit for the Haunted Mansion. Nothing to report there. It looks like those brick columns, though, have survived, just FYI. That's a good sign. There's that tree that has also survived. And there's giant Mount Gracie once more. Which brings us to New Orleans Square, and something that we reported a few weeks ago. There was a point when those construction walls extended, all the way through the walkway here. This entire walkway up here was closed off from Tianas Palace on. You could not pass the mansion. You had to go all the way down towards the Harbor Galley if you wanted to cross into or pass the Haunted Mansion and into Critter Country. They moved these walls back a little bit, giving guests, a little bit more breathing room up here. And then this week, we can see that they have opened all of it up. You can now pass the Haunted Mansion on the top side, the upper half, the upper side of that path along the Rivers of America and the Harbor Galley. It used to be, right here at this churro cart, those walls created a dead end. There was a dead end right here at the churro cart. But today, you can keep going. Now, it still does taper off. It still creates a pinch point now at Harbor Galley, but it's significantly better than it was. It allows guests 2 ways of passing the Haunted Mansion on the way to Critter Country. I think it's great. It makes me happy to see that they are working on that. But for me, it's a tell that there's a possibility, that there's hope for the Haunted Mansion not only to be done on time, but maybe even better than that. I know it seems scary because they're still in that heavy earth-moving phase, but this is something that we've talked about in other discussions. You know, we're used to things taking forever at Disneyland, but it's not like they're building a new attraction here. They're not even something like Adventureland Treehouse. All they're building is a break room. They're building a break room and an elevator, which requires far less, detail and finesse. Now, the queue space that they're going to build is a little bit more so, but I feel like that is still going to be easier to do than even building the Adventureland Treehouse. I feel like Disney is aware of the urgency of this update to Haunted Mansion and what it's doing, this along with Splash Mountain, what it's doing to traffic back here. And I feel like they want to remedy this as soon as possible. It is creating way too much pressure on Pirates. We've noticed that the Pirates queues are growing. They've been super bad for a while now. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that all those guests that are heading down this direction have nowhere to go except for Pirates. So it's kind of a dead end. New Orleans Square is kind of a dead end. So they all just kind of wind up, funneling into Pirates of the Caribbean. And I want to say that the urgency is not just to finish the queue on time and ready for August 23rd when, the Halloween season is supposed to begin. And with the Halloween season comes Nightmare Overlay at the Haunted Mansion. I think that they have a wish, a desire, a hope, as we all do, that there is some opportunity for guests to enjoy the original proper Haunted Mansion before, because that's a sad state of affairs. If you close the Haunted Mansion back in January after having just had a 3-month run of Nightmare Overlay, you close it for almost a full year, and then when it reopens again, it's again still Nightmare Overlay for another 4 months, and it will have been a year since anybody has seen Natural Haunted Mansion. I think there's a chance that Disney's going to want to give guests, even if it's a brief moment, to enjoy Haunted Mansion for like a month. Get this attraction open, let's say in July, because the attraction is working. The attraction works fine. It's what they're doing has nothing to do with the actual attraction proper. It works. So they could conceivably open Haunted Mansion while they're still working on the queue. If they can figure out a way to corral those guests somehow, and I think that's part of the reason why they're working so hard to get that space opened up in front of the attraction. That's what's encouraged me to make this observation. They're fast tracking getting that space open again out in front of the attraction so that they can reopen Haunted Mansion. It's not official. It's just a theory that I'm working on, considering the little bit of information that I've been able to glean from what we're watching happen out here in front of the attraction, and knowing that there is an urgency to get the people are just losing it over this. They're losing ticket sales. They're losing annual pass signups because people don't want to do anything until this situation is done. And the sooner they can finish this, the sooner they can get back to normal operations. That is our updated outlook on the Haunted Mansion. On time for August 23rd, and I believe that there is even a slight chance, I would say 20% chance, that we could see the Haunted Mansion open for like a month. They would open it in July and then close it again 2 weeks prior to August 23rd, the 1st of August, in order to put in the Nightmare Overlay. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. You can follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on TikTok at freshbakedisney. And did I say you can follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at freshbakedisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at freshbakedisney. Thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. Fresh baked.